You're listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast, the show that helps you build wealth faster, think outside the box, and break out of the herd. Here's your host, Jim Oliver.
Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today, I'm excited to have Mark Kohler. Welcome, Mark.
Well, thanks for having me, Jim. I'm so excited to be here.
So, Mark, this is the day that we're recording here is a day that's always a little, I guess it's not nervous for me, but I have a few different companies I own. I think we're at 32 companies. And so there's a lot of companies that their taxes, their return is due today. And it doesn't really, I mean, some of them that are passed through, I guess I got another month, of heartburn. And then it really gets serious because I don't know anybody that pays their taxes in April, or at least I don't remember me ever doing that. I do pay taxes in April, but then file the return in October. But I actually didn't have to file my return because of a hurricane for my 2022 until today. So with all of that said, you're an expert in all of this, so I'm excited to get started. But before we do, introduce the audience to yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
You bet. And man, all of you are cringing going, man, we're going to talk about taxes. This guy must be terribly boring. Let's turn this podcast off immediately. But don't do it, people.
Yes.
My job is to make you money. Do you know it's easier to save money than make money? It's the yin and the yang of success. And so I'm a CPA, certified public accountant, an attorney, best-selling author. I've got a very robust YouTube channel, 4 or 5 books that have sold thousands and thousands of copies and 5-star ratings on Amazon. My own podcast with millions of downloads. But my claim to fame is being the biggest nerd in America. I'd love to save people money, protect it from a stupid lawsuit. I love the American dream. I know that Main Street America is live and well. So many small business owners are starving for accurate, simple, actionable tax and legal strategies. And that's what my message is. And I have a mission to help other accountants learn how to become real tax advisors, not just putting numbers on a form. So I've got a lot to do, and I'm just loving being here with you, spreading that message.
You know, I love what you just said, because Mark, when I teach people about infinite banking, and I don't know how familiar or unfamiliar you are, but when we do infinite banking, we're buying cars and stuff like that, but we're mostly buying cash flowing assets. So I'm going to go buy businesses and real estate and other what I would say alternative to Wall Street types of investments. Those things are going to cash flow. I'm going to flow it back through an insurance contract. It's in a tax shelter. I get to use the insurance company's money, and you kind of get the concept, right? And I always tell people, and they say, well, what's my CPA going to think about this? And I said, well, it depends. There's only, in my opinion, 2 different types of CPAs. There's CPAs that they know that it's black and white. They know where to fill out the forms, and they don't want you to go outside of that, because if something goes wrong, they don't want you to fire them, right? And then there's the innovative CPA. I'm not talking about the guy that you say, hey, put me just on this side of the jail, right? No, I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about the person that actually knows the tax code, knows how to take advantage of places where we can legally take advantage of, and isn't afraid of the IRS. And what I mean by that is, what most people don't know is to go to tax court costs like $60, right? So that's when they start negotiating, right? That's like, if you get audited, go to tax court. Okay, I'm not going to give tax advice. I'm just kidding. Mark's going to give you advice if you get audited. No, I'm kidding on that. But I do appreciate what you said is geek. And I love when people say geeking out, because that means that you're passionate about it. Like, you're learning, like, what can we do? And by the way, man, I've done it. Conservation easements. I set up the C Corp marketing thing, and now I'm getting ready to disband that because the IRS doesn't like that. I'm always looking, because I'm jealous of my friends that are making $10 million a year. They're all in real estate. They're doing cost segregation. They're not paying anything in tax. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why is my effective rate so high? I want to be like those guys. I don't pay nothing. So to the point, Mark, I'm teeing you up for something here. is
Yeah, you're throwing out a lot. Each one of those,
I'm
they've got
gonna
a very opinionated
content. I'm going to be
content.
quiet. I'm even at the point where this person has me convinced that I can be a resident alien, still have my business, still have all this other stuff, and pay no tax. All right, I'm done. I'm going to let you talk.
You've got a lot of voices I would recommend you not listen to.
Yeah.
But when you're an influencer and you're out there trying to spread the word, you've got to hear these people. But I'm a consumer advocate almost the majority of my time, trying to warn people. C Corps are not looked at by the IRS. The truth is, they just don't freaking work. Conservation easements, I've done 2 in 20 years because they just don't work. And cost segregation only works if you're in a certain lane in the real estate realm. There's truth and wonderful tax strategies out there. And I'm not even talking about trying to keep you out of an audit or jail, because my strategies don't even brush up against that. There is so much opportunity out there. In my Tax Pro certification for advisors, I teach 80 strategies. And these are in 12 different modules just to help accountants learn what they don't learn in school. And these, I think you rattle off just 2 or 3 that I don't even teach. There is so much out there, so much opportunity, so much to do to build wealth and make it tax-free or tax-deferred, and so many wonderful things. I'm grateful to be here with you because, folks, you've got to be careful what's out there. There's so many wolves in sheep's clothing. If the person you're talking to is not licensed and actually signing your tax return and not getting a commission for whatever the hell they're selling you, now you can start talking to someone.
Right.
There is so much crap out there. So I'm so grateful to be here.
Awesome. So now we've talked about some of the things that people do as mistakes. Talk about, let's say that's on this far right side. On the far left side of the pendulum is somebody that just says, well, I mean, I'm in the 37% tax bracket. I have to pay this, I have to pay that, and I just pay it. A lot of doctors, a lot of professionals like that, I see kind of in that, and they just count 37% off the top. And so talk about how to not be in those 2 buckets. I mean, I think you did a good job of not being in the 1 bucket. But
yeah, it's funny. It's like, and Jim, we're going to have to drill down on a few ideas or something, but it's kind of like, Mark, how do I save taxes for paying 37? Mark, how do I live a happy life?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Let me give you the answer in about 9 minutes. We'll be okay. Bye. Holy shiz. All right. So let me give you some foundational points, and then we'll hit some technical things. I want everyone to walk away from this podcast with something actionable. I hate it when people just blah, 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 and you get word salad.
Yeah.
Nothing. So the first concept I need so many of you to understand and buy into: your tax return is your tax return. When you sign it, you're on the hook. I don't care if you had a CPA, a tax lawyer, an enrolled agent, a paid tax preparer, you're the one on the hook. The liability for a tax preparer or a CPA for preparing your return is so infinitesimal. They are not the ones going to jail or getting to deal with the audit. You are. And if you're pissed off that you don't have enough strategies and you're not having a conversation, that's on you. You are the captain of your ship. This is your life, your tax return, your American dream. And if you think you're going to find an accountant that's just going to take care of it all, Mark, tell me where to. I've got a network of accountants, but that doesn't mean you're going to find this accountant that's just going to do it all for you and you don't have to worry about it. You want to go talk to someone that's worth 7, 8 figures, someone that's making $1 million a year? They are actively involved in regular meetings and phone calls with their tax advisors, and they know the strategies almost as well as their tax advisor. If that's not you, we got to start there. And we've got to be able to have those meetings, demand them, and find the right tax advisor, not just a tax return preparer looking in the rearview mirror. That's number 1. If I could throw out number 2, is I prepare for all of my clients. I teach it to every CPA and enrolled agent and attorney around the country. And that is to create a picture, create a plan. I call it the trifecta. And we have a trifecta picture that we create for every client that puts your operations on the left, your holdings on the right, and everything flows down to your trust, your legacy, and your 1040 tax return. This image, this picture, makes everything so much easier to understand. What type of business deals am I going to put on the left? Operational income. I got to save on self-employment tax. We could talk about S corporations, putting kids on payroll. Do I put my spouse on payroll? What should my payroll be? How do I write off healthcare? Do I write off home office and travel and dining and travel and auto and I can go all there all day long. I got 3-day conferences and I can freaking save you tens of thousands of dollars. But then on the right side, where are we building our wealth? How are we building that wealth? Is it in notes, real estate, syndications, oil and gas, land? What am I creating cash flow wise? And then how am I maximizing my Roth IRAs, my Roth 401ks, my health savings accounts, my solo 401ks, my DB plans? How am I building my retirement plans, my real estate? And then when I've got all my crap in order, where do I bring insurance into the mix? And who owns all this? It's got to all flow down to your revocable living trust, and all the money flows downhill into your 1040. And I'd love to make a smoothie at the end of the day. I want that tax return to grab all the gains over here and all the losses over here, but it always doesn't work that way. And my last point, Jim, is just be careful of hearing someone, oh, I made tens of millions of dollars and I didn't pay any tax. Really? Why don't you show me your freaking tax return? Well, you know, blah, blah, blah. Everybody likes to tell their story, blah, 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 how they're not paying tax. I'm the one that does their blood work. I see the tax return. And there's so many influencers out there full of crap that are not saving to taxes, but they're saying something to sell you something. So don't worry about whatever the hell someone else is doing. You worry about your own ship. You're the captain.
I love that.
Bam. Sorry, I get upset about this.
No, you know what? I mean, I feel like taxes is a little bit like fitness. And what I mean by that is I'm into what do I eat, everything else, right? Well, how do I work out? How many reps? How many sets? What functional, building, all this. And everybody has their own opinion, right?
But what works for you may not work for me.
And it may, exactly. So you know what? I do believe in is I believe in DNA methylation, right? Do a DNA test on me and say, based on my DNA, this is how I should eat. This is how I should work out because this is what my DNA says. So there's no guesswork. So when you have 80 strategies, right? A little bit of it is, okay, because you have, if it was me, you have 32 companies. This is how the companies are formed. You own this percentage of each one. And you got a bunch of crypto companies in there. I saw on your website, Crypto Tax Summit. Okay, Jim, here's our pitfalls, here's our strengths, blah, 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 blah. Based on everything that you've told me, your DNA, this is what I would do, right? This is what you need, whether it's trust, whether it's all this stuff. So to me, don't come to me and say, I think you should do keto diet because keto diet's going to make you lose weight. I think everybody on a keto diet is going to lose weight, but I can't eat like that forever. Or, like you're fitting, it's the same thing. Like they're fitting you into this, like conservation easement. Everybody fits into this. Instead of saying, hey, let me find out about you. Let's see how you have structured. Let's structure it the right way. So then you can go out and eat like this. Same way with taxes. Totally. Hopefully the analogy is making sense.
No, it is. And everybody out there, you do not have to be rich to get that personal analysis, that personal DNA test. And fair metaphor. I like that. So we call that getting a comprehensive consult at least once a year with a tax lawyer or your tax advisor in conjunction with the lawyer, because you're going to be dealing with tax and legal. And here's the news alert, everybody. At most, you shouldn't be spending, well, it's going to depend on you can imagine people with more moving parts, more rental properties and starts at $1,500, might cap out at $3,000 or $4,000. Mm-hmm. And you're getting a complete analysis, and you're not paying $3,000 or $4,000 unless you've got millions of revenue and 32 properties or whatever. So people, you can get a very, very affordable tax strategy analysis from a third party that's not going to sell you any garbage, and then say, here's what it should look like. Here's your trifecta. Here's the plan that would work for you. Married, single, kids, no kids, ordinary income, day job, no day job, rentals, crypto, whatever you got in your plate, let's figure out which strategies work for you. And then you work with that advisor throughout the year before you prepare your tax return next year. I'm more busy in November and December. A real advisor I could care less about April. It's just a punt. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right now, we have people making appointments right now in September and October for December because they know how swamped we're going to be. Because the real people making real money know that they've got to pull the trigger on strategies before the end of the year that make sense.
Yeah.
If they want to save money in this year. So it can be affordable. You don't have to have a family office. You don't have to have a tax lawyer at $1,000 an hour BS. You can go to kkOSlawyers.com. That's our law firm. We have clients around the country. And we're a boutique. I've got 14 lawyers that work for me. That's it. That's all. Right. And it doesn't have to be rocket science.
And Mark, do you meet with your clients online like we're meeting today, like on Zoom or something like that?
All on Zoom. I can't remember one of my last in-person consultations. Geez, 3 years ago?
I haven't either. I don't meet with clients face-to-face because honestly, I can't be as effective because if I was going to show you like how to do infinite banking or something, I could draw it out for you and I could draw it out and show you exactly how it works and why you should do it or shouldn't do it. And I don't really care if you do it or not. I just teach people about it. And then they either decide it's for them or it's not for them. And so, but when I show people financial freedom being the goal and cash flow being the goal, passive revenue being the goal. And I don't like to say passive income because income is what? Taxed, right? So it could be passive revenue. But I can draw it out a lot better than if I'm just sitting there. And by the way, they're not looking at me. I want them to look at whatever I'm showing them, not look at me. So in person, sometimes the person's looking at you. So I love that. Plus expenses are lower, right? I'm in my house. My studio's in my house. And I have the law firms and I used to do financial planning, and the financial planning firms overlooking the mountains in Denver. It's beautiful, but it's expensive. So I get that. I've seen tax firms that start off at 30 grand. Hey, we're going to analyze your stuff for 30 grand. I'm like,
yeah,
whoa. Okay. Now, by the way, if you're making a lot of money, it seems like, well, are you really going to give me ideas? But the problem is they don't really deliver. So I love that you said the range that you're talking about and what you do. So if I'm somebody in the audience and I'm like, because I can't imagine anybody in the audience, not one person feels like, man, I got my tax situation figured out. I got it down. There is no improvement to this thing. You think there's one person in the audience feels like that? They shouldn't.
No.
And so
I have a third party look at my tax return. I don't look at my own tax return. We all need brain on brain.
If I wanted to learn more about engaging with you and working with you, what do I do? How do I start?
Well, you bet. It's a two-pronged approach. Number one, I would recommend having an initial tax and legal review with a real tax lawyer that helps small business owners. That could be as low as $1,600.
Okay.
And find out what your structure looks like. Are your entities in good standing? Do you have your BOI reports done? What's your tax return look like? They're really just doing your blood work. You're doing their DNA work on you. What does it look like? Where are your weaknesses? Where are your strengths? Let's get a plan. And for a couple grand, you're working with a real tax lawyer on the first phone call. This is not client advisors that are like, oh, we talked to a lawyer down the hall and you don't have to write a retainer of 10 grand or 20 grand crap. You're going to be meeting with an attorney right away. That's number one. The second prong of this is making sure you have the tax advisor that's going to be your quarterback on the field. So you're going to meet with a tax attorney that's going to be kind of like your team manager. They're going to put together an overall plan, be there in the backdrop, waiting to do some of the legal work that needs to be maintained, legal maintenance, company minutes, all those goodies, get your trust done. But then your tax advisor is critical. So I have a network. I train more I closed down my own accounting firm 2 years ago because we had a wait list of 3 years. Wow. I said, I'm going to be better. I'm going to help more people by training other accountants around the country, CPAs and enrolled agents. So I have the Tax Pro Network. It's on my website, markjkohler.com. It's like a LinkedIn of accountants around the country. Nice. They all speak Mark Kohler. They have to meet with me weekly. They have to go through 1,000 quiz questions and get 90%. They have to do all my strategies and go to my conferences and blah, 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 blah. So you can go to the network and find an accountant around the country, young or old, male or female, big firm, little firm, that'll work with your lawyer to execute your plan. And then they're going to be the one doing your payroll reports, your bookkeeping, your tax returns. And if you've got a great accountant right now, they should get the report from the lawyer, the review, and go, oh, this is great. See, I told you, Tom, we're nailing it. Or they'll go, oh my gosh, yeah, we could do a lot more. Or number 3, they'll go, oh, you don't trust me? Oh, because accountants are SOBs. They are egotistical. And if it wasn't their idea, it's a bad idea or too risky. So you've got to take control of your ship and fire your freaking accountant if they can't get on board with future planning.
No, I love that. I out of the CPAs that work with the different entities that I own all of or part of, or I'm just telling you, trying to find the right person is hard. And I believe in this. If you've already vetted these people, you've already trained them. Then it's like, could you imagine how long it would take me to go start interviewing people in Naples, Florida to be my CPA?
I know.
I don't want to do that. Number one, right? And what I want to do is I don't want to be the middleman talking to the CPA and the attorney. I want the attorney to talk to the CPA and come to me and say, okay, here's what we need to do to change. And here's why we need to do it.
Yeah. And let me make one other quick recommendation, everybody. I'm not trying to hide the ball. You don't want to call my firm? Don't. Don't want to go to my network? Fine. But at least do this. Go to my website and download my 30 Ultimate Tax Strategy Guide. There's just 30 strategies.
Right.
Go on Amazon and get my book, The Tax and Legal Playbook. Go in there and just go to my podcast and listen to one of the 500 podcasts I've done and just say, how am I writing off my auto, my home office, my kids? Am I using the S Corp properly? Am I using the LLC properly? Am I doing this? La, 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 la. Just have a little list and just shock yourself. Go meet with your accountant. Go talk to your accountant and go, hey, could we go through these strategies? Could we just go through these 20 strategies and see how we're doing on those? Could we take kind of a little review and litmus test of what I could be maybe doing better or not? You don't have to understand it all. But freaking be in control, be confident, and know that you're the boss, not your accountant. If your accountant appears to you to be a watchdog for the IRS and they're on the other side of the table, you already got the wrong person. They need to be on the same side of the table as you going, oh my gosh, Bill, these are great. Yeah, let's talk about it. Oh, and that Mark Kohler, yeah, I've heard about him. They're not territorial. They're humble. They're willing to learn. And they go, I've been needing to get certified. The strategies I teach, I didn't learn in law school. I didn't learn in the CPA exam. I didn't learn in a master's program. I worked at the tax court. I worked for KPMG. I've worked in 3 different accounting firms and law firms. And I'm running a ship with over 150 employees. And our trust company with self-directed IRAs and 401ks will hit $2 billion this year. I've done my 10,000 consultations. I know what I'm saying is true, it's honest, and you've got to at least manage your own affairs and start interviewing people.
Love it.
Because they're out there, and I've got a network of them if you need them.
No, I would encourage everybody. I already put my information in there for the free report, and I'm sure I'll start getting some information from your firm. I'm right in the process of evaluating, because my bookkeeper came to me, Mark, and she said, Jim, you're the only person that I have that is making over this amount. I think you're way beyond what I can help you with. Okay. And I respect, she flew to Florida, by the way, to tell me that. I was like, you could have told me that over Zoom. But and she's like, I recommend this firm. And I said, well, tell them to come up with something. Show me what they got. I'll sign the form that they can look at my last 3 years. I'll pay them whatever. Tell me, show me what you got. What would you do differently? I need some ideas and some trust. So I'm going through this right now. Mm-hmm. And every single person that I talk to, almost without fail, is they don't really feel good about their tax situation. They don't feel like whoever's handling it, or even their trust. Hey, I got this kind of trust. What do you think? We don't know who to trust anymore. So you trust the people, like you said, that have done the 10,000 hours, that know how to do this, not get you in trouble. But again, ultimately, it's like you said. But I asked a simple question like this. Hey, what's this tax dome thing? Should I have that on my phone? Take pictures? And right now I just put it in G Drive, and then my assistant she puts it in different folders. And then, it'd be a hell of a mess if I ever get audited again. But like, isn't there a simpler way of doing it? I've asked her that 3 times. You know what she said? Let me get back to you on that. And then I never heard anything. So like, I want something as simple as that, Mark. Tell me what to do with my phone when I go get gas. I need the basics. I went to public school. I need the simple,
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, let's hit some, maybe in our last little time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't you just off the cuff say, Mark, here's some of the things I hear out there. Do you like this strategy or not? Or is this, I've heard this or that. And if you want to, because again, I've got so many strategy, and I could give you my top 3 if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
If you have a question.
Top 3.
Okay, now this is number 1, assuming people that you're taking captain of your own ship. Number 2, you're getting a comprehensive analysis by someone, a third party that's currently not selling you crap or doing your stuff. Get a third party. You might spend $1,500, couple grand. I want to save you. If in our consult, we don't save you 5 times what you pay us, we made a mistake. I find savings on the table every freaking time.
Yeah.
Someone's screwing up something. Okay. So number 1 and 2, you're going to take control. You're going to get a review. One of the first strategies that's most common that is jacked up in people's lives is not taking advantage of the S corporation, the S corp, properly.
Okay.
Now, some of you may go, well, Mark, I already have an S corp. Okay. What's your payroll level this year? What's your percentage of payroll to your draws? Not your profit, not your gross, not your net, your draws. What's your payroll allocation? Well, I don't know. I let my accountant decide it. Really? Okay. The number 1 area to save on FICA and self-employment tax, you're letting your accountant decide that. Do you know 90% of accountants are scared of their own shadow? They're they're so conservative. They're out there as a watchdog to the IRS. Are you the one demanding reasonable comp review? And I'm not talking about software, just a reasonable conversation. I see dentists, doctors, realtors, online marketers, influencers, attorneys, CPAs, realtors, all paying way too much in salary out of their S corp, and they don't need to do it. Then to add insult to injury, they're putting their spouse on payroll because they think their spouse needs Social Security. Then they're putting a W-2 to their kids rather than doing it in a FICA-free manner. There are so many screw-ups on the S corp once you do get it. But people, the point is, LLCs do not save taxes. LLCs do not save taxes. They're for asset protection. They're there as insurance to convert to an S corp. They're there to document a partnership or relationship. So the S corporation is one of my first strategies that 9 out of 10 times I find savings for every client. Every client. Number 2, understanding how real estate is taxed. There's a difference between long-term rentals and short-term rentals. There's a difference between short-term rentals and self-rentals. There's a difference between self-rentals and syndications. 9 times out of 10, a cost seg does my clients no good whatsoever. Do clients understand the difference between material participation and being a real estate professional? I had a guy at a conference this weekend in Dallas who said, yeah, well, my wife's a dentist and I work in corporate America at Amazon. And then we have 9 rentals, and I'm trying to do a cost seg to get my pass-through losses. Whoa. Are you a real estate professional? Well, yeah, because I put in more than 750 hours in real estate. No, you're not. Your day job is working at Amazon. You're out. You're going to get audited. Forget it. And the penalties are going to be miserable. Well, I thought if I had 750 hours, I'm a real estate professional. No, you're not. It's a 3-part test. And I've sat across the table from IRS agents and fought for this for my clients. I've written articles on this. I teach continuing education on this, and I know what works and doesn't work. So you've got to understand your real estate lane, what you're trying to accomplish. And I love real estate. Do you have to be a real estate professional? No, I'm not.
Right.
And I'm still buying real estate. And you got to understand the purpose of short-term rentals versus self-rentals and all of that. That's strategy number 2, which is probably 4 classes in a program of mine to really nail that down. And you want to learn how to, I'm going to cash flow and I'm going to go talk to this influencer on turnkey rentals and where to buy rental. And sure, knock yourself out. But on day 2, where in the hell are you putting it? Well, I'm going to put it in an LLC in Wyoming. Really? Why? Well, that's what I was told to do. Wrong answer.
Yeah.
And we're not even touching the legal issues. Where should I set up my LLC? How should it be structured? Do I have a board of advisors with my teenagers on it and my spouse? Am I writing off every trip and every travel and every conference? Am I documenting that? Am I putting in tax preferred strategies in my minutes that are required if I'm going to have an accountable plan to write off my healthcare? Do you have a health savings account or a health reimbursement arrangement? Or are you doing the flexible spending account? And everybody listening, 90% of you that are listening, your brain just went to mush. That's a problem. That's a problem. One of your top 3 podcasts should be the tax conversation. And I've got a kick-ass podcast, the Main Street Business Podcast, millions of downloads, and I make it fun, I make it simple, I make it interesting. And those are some strategies that move the needle. You've got to be talking about this. And I know you feel the same way. Rich people love to talk about tax planning.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be rich, find someone that's palatable that you'd love to talk about this with. I got you. I got you.
I love it. I love it. Even like on your website, just even, and I've done this the last few years, but that's why it came out to me is renting your house to your business and some of the things that you can do, but all these little things, right, that I don't really know how to do. And Mark, one last question before we get into the 2 final questions that I ask everybody, but what do you see? Is there a role in AI, with AI helping people like keep track of their taxes or, because I'll tell you, you'll find this funny. Okay. My ex-wife wouldn't find this funny, but my ex-wife, she threw away all of our receipts. This is how we used to do it. We'd put them in a envelope, in a big, every month. And this is back 10 years ago or something. And she said, "Oh, those are from a few years ago. We don't need those anymore." She threw them all out. You know how much the IRS loved that. and she didn't know I was mad. That's not why she's my ex-wife, by the way. I forgave her. But like people don't even know the simple, basic part of that. What am I supposed to do? They just take a picture of the receipt. That's not enough, right? You got to say if I took Mark to lunch or if I did whatever, and I mean, you're not even getting that much of a deduction for that anymore, right? But like what needs to be noted? I mean, do people learn that? Or do you have systems that your advisors recommend for things like that? Just the basic stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay.
We definitely can help guide clients
you
through
don't have
what
to
they
give
need
it
to
away
do.
here, but I'm just saying.
No, I don't mind saying AI, worthless. It's not going to help you in this process.
Okay.
Don't chase your tail there. Number 2, by the way, watch out for the Augusta rule. You know what you're referring to. And renting your home to your business works for about 1 out of 100 people, and it's bullshit 90% of the time.
I understand.
Number 3, you need to keep your receipts, everybody, or a scanned copy of them for at least 6 years.
Right.
You can scan, put them in Box, put them in Google Docs, put them in Google Drive, put them in whatever. You want to get a Dome, you want to get an app. QuickBooks has an app, whatever, people. Yeah. If you go out, take a picture of the receipt, then throw this receipt away.
Yeah.
And if you get audited, they're all digitized somewhere.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, dining is a great write-off. It's the same damn write-off it's been for 30 years.
Okay.
You go out and you talk business, you get to write off half of that meal. I can write off half of tips. I can write off half of the bar tab. I can write off half of the meal. And when I travel, even by myself, and I don't talk to anyone about business, you can write off that dining. So there's so much to do with dining. I just met with a client 3 days ago, looked at their return. They had 60 grand of income and 2,000 in dining. Really?
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
$150 a month in dining. Who has $150 a month in dining?
Right.
So, but again, the client was like, I didn't even think about that. And see, I can't do your tax returns for you. I can't do your tax planning for you. I can teach you what to do. And I'm going to just quote the infamous Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Help me help you. Help me help you. I can't do it for you. All right. You can't pay me enough.
No,
it's not worth it.
Mark, and I think this subject, I could probably talk about for the next 2 hours, and I have a lot of questions, just things in my head, but I want to ask you 2 questions before we wrap up, and we're going to put all of Mark's contacts, any courses, anything else that he offers in the show notes. Because look, if you're not becoming a ninja or whatever the hell you want to call it on this, this is the subject you got to know before you know anything else. You could be the greatest real estate investor of all time, but if you don't have this part of it down, you're going to be in trouble. So, Mark, what's the best advice anybody's ever given you?
I just saw her the other day, and I told her this. I hadn't seen her in 10 years. And she was my aunt that I had lunch with probably 30 years ago. And I was at that age where I was like trying to find my mission, my passion, my calling. What was I going to do? And just off the cuff, she goes, Mark, you've got a drive inside you. You're a smart kid, you know. And she's like, find what you love doing and you'll be successful. Just do what you love.
Yeah.
And you're gonna kill it. And
I love that.
And so some of you may have a day job and a side job. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm not saying day jobs are bad.
Right.
I'm not saying small business is best. It's everybody is on their own journey. Find what is your passion, your love, what you want to do, what's your mission, and let's freaking own it and freaking blow it up.
Love it.
Jim, you have been a pleasure. This is thanks for letting me speak my mind. I know I've been a little aggro because I feel like my life, I've got to let people know how important this is, and I get kind of tenacious about it. So
no, I love passionate people, and I love people that know what they're doing. And look, I just was talking to a friend of mine who happens to be a pastor, by the way, and she's starting this coaching business in this one little area. And she goes, man, I wish I had your confidence. And I said, well, my confidence comes from 36 years of doing what I do and trial and error. And I know I've made a lot of mistakes. And so I know how to avoid those mistakes. And I know how to run a business, and I know how to take a business from here to here. And it's like, I know how to do it because I did it the wrong way. And I've had a lot of mentors along the way. So confidence is a skill set, but you're not confident if you don't know what you're talking about. So you didn't come across as cocky or anything else. You came across as confident. And so that's what I would say is to the audience is confidence is because there's people are confident because they can back it up, right? I'm not worried about somebody asked me a question about whether what I show people is a good idea. Again, if you were my calculus teacher, right, professor, I would expect to be able to ask you any question I could on calculus and you could answer it. I have the feeling that I could ask you any question on taxes. You could say, oh, this resident alien having a foreign trust. And all that. Yeah, let me tell you how this works. And let me tell you, that doesn't work. You're going to go to jail. You know, like, I'm not saying that's what you would say, but I'm just saying that I feel like you would know what I was talking about. You wouldn't go, well, I've never heard of that strategy before. That's really what people want when they have advisors.
Yeah, you're going to like this quote. I think you'll like this. Competence breeds confidence.
100% agree.
And so when all of us can just up-level our competence a little bit, it takes away fear and it breeds confidence.
Yeah.
And you guys, I take people through a tax certification advisory program that are just a simple QuickBooks specialist accountant. And a year later, they're giving tax advice to business owners because the average, some of the CPAs out there aren't doing it. So someone's got to step up. You know, anyway. I'm
going to refer my bookkeeper because she's looking to like add to her life and add to, you know, like I want her to learn about this because she's a really good person and she's sitting in the middle of Iowa and she's just, she's that Iowa, just solid person that needs just a little bit of structure to take her life and her business to the next level. So I'm definitely going to refer her to your program. And Mark, thank you so much for being on here. And audience, we're going to wrap it up like we always do with the incredible words of Earl Nightingale and The Strangest Secret.
Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about.
Thanks for listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this show wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If you want to start increasing your wealth building ability right now, go to community.createtailwind.com to join our free online community and get access to free, in-depth training designed to help you build real, lasting wealth. See you next week.